Hello and welcome back. We're going to be taking a look at the Power Rangers Lightning Collection SPD Blue Ranger and In Space Psycho Silver Ranger 2-pack, the Lost Galaxy Blue Ranger, the In Space Black Ranger, the SPD Green Ranger, and the Tenga Warrior. So first off, we'll take a look at the 2-pack. This comes in the standard style packaging we've seen for previous releases. You have artwork of the Blue Ranger and the Silver Psycho Ranger, which span round onto either side of the box. The top is the standard coloured packaging with the lightning split between the two Rangers. Oops. And on the back is the product shot of the two Rangers combating each other. Okay, so I'm going to get this opened up and we'll look at the two Rangers and see how they pair. And here we have the Rangers out of the packaging, still on their blister card. I do wonder how long it's going to be before Hasbro gets rid of this plastic inlays and moves to the all plastic 3 packaging that we've started to see for the Transformers and other products. I imagine when it happens, a lot of fans are going to be annoyed that the boxes no longer match up. However, I say it can't come quick enough. It's just such a waste. The inlay of the packaging is the standard lightning bolt logos we've seen on all of the other packages. I'm going to get this out of the blister cards, of the blister packaging, and we will take a look. So here we have the two Rangers out of the packaging with their accessories. First up is the blue In Space Ranger, who comes with his baton style weapon. I also can't remember the name of it. This is nicely detailed. It appears to be moulded in blue plastic with a black painted hand grip with silver lining. You can see the silver inlay, and they've even gone as far, if it will show. I don't think it's coming up on camera, but as you can see there, they've got the gold diamond symbol, or the envelope symbol, on it, which is a nice touch. We have the standard explosion style FX piece, which we've seen with so many others. To be honest, I don't like this FX piece. And while I do use the FX pieces in my displays, if Hasbro decided to get rid of those as a cost-cutting measure, I wouldn't be disappointed. In fact, I'd happily go back to the older pricings of these if we lost these. We have the In Space Blaster. Again, this is really nicely detailed with some nice little paint apps, and the envelope style gold logo. The civilian headpiece. To be honest, it has been so long since I've seen In Space, I cannot remember their names now. However, from what I recall, this is actually a fairly decent likeness of the Ranger. And then we have a closed fist and an open palmed hand, which seems to be a standard additional hands for the Rangers these days. And for Psycho Silver, it comes with 2 extra hands, one with the standard lightning hand, which we've seen with all the other Psycho Rangers, and a closed fist. his blaster sword type weapon, which again has been nicely detailed. I love the fading effect down here of the silver and gold. And we can see the Psycho logo in gold underneath, and sorry, silver and black even going back. Nicely done. And a civilian head. I don't remember any of the Psycho Rangers having civilian heads, so I cannot remember if this is a decent likeness or not. First up, we'll take a look at the silver Psycho Ranger. Articulation on these Rangers are the same throughout the line, so I'm not going to focus too much on them. This one has been nicely detailed. I like the paint tap on it. It's nice smooth colouring throughout. It's the same body, mould and patterns as all of the other Psycho Rangers, so there's nothing new to add here really. I like the gold on the back here of the collar. It's a detail that could have easily been missed by Hasbro, but it's been included, which is a nice touch. All of the nubs have been painted silver. It interests me that Hasbro have painted all of the silver stubs on the hands when the silver bits on the Dino Charge Rangers hands have started to be left as white. On to the blue and Space Ranger, and I'm going to say that I ordered 2 of these, and this was the better of the 2. But even so, you can see that how poorly misaligned the Blue Ranger helmet is. It's almost as if 2 halves have been stuck together lopsidedly. The silver top piece is misaligned, the white's coming down here on the visor. I have to say I'm really disappointed with that. Normally I don't really have many or any gripes with the Lightning Collection figures. I know a lot of people have been unhappy with them, but yeah, that is the worst I've ever seen, and it's very disappointing to see. All of the colour logos appear to be similar sizing and nicely done. The white moves throughout and up onto the shoulders. We have the gold painted logo. Overall, besides the helmet, this has been nicely done. I don't really have any complaints on it. The articulation on it's all nice and tight. I do know that we're getting another In Space Blue Ranger in the next month or 2 with his Astro Cycle. I find it odd that Hasbro have decided to do 2 blue In Space Rangers so close together. I know that we now have all of the In Space Rangers, but if we're getting the Astro Cycle for him, I would have thought they would have chosen to re-release one of the other Rangers, given that they're so close together. Maybe doing an individual release of the Red or one of the girls. To be honest, I would have been quite interested in seeing one of the girls re-released with the Astro Cycle. It would have been a nice touch to see the Astro Cycle get released with a girl first up, rather than constantly having the boys. Overall, I don't really have anything else to add. I'm happy with the figure, or the 2 figures, bar the helmets. You know, that's a real disappointment for me. Normally I'm not so nitpicky with figures, you know, as long as they have the right articulation, the joints aren't too loose, and, you know, they look reasonably similar to their on-screen comic book whatever counterparts. But yeah, this is it's sloppy work from such a huge toy manufacturer. It's not something I would have expected to see. So yeah, that's disappointing. But otherwise, these are both really great figures. Let's move on to one of the other ranges and we'll see how they compare up. So next up, we're going to take a look at the black In Space Ranger to compare up against his blue counterpart. Same standard window style packaging for all the previous releases. The artwork on the side of the Ranger in question, which folds around onto the spine. The logo for the particular season. Product shot on the back. And more artwork of the Ranger. Instantly, straight out of the packaging, this is such a nicer release. First up, alternate hands. One is the standard closed fist, which is okay. However, the second hand is a more posed hand, which is nice and makes a change from either the flat hands, balled up fists, or gripping hands. This allows for some proper posing, which is obviously quite iconic with the Rangers, more standing in a specific pose. So it's really nice to see a hand which isn't generic to other releases. Hopefully we'll get more releases with something like that. The civilian head, is it Carlos? Again, as I said, it's been such a long time since I've seen the seasons, I can't remember their names. It's a fair likeness. Overall, I feel the likenesses for the Rangers is fairly substandard to say Hasbro's Star Wars Black Series or Marvel Legends. But yeah, it's decent enough. I don't use the civilian heads. It's a nice touch, but again, if Hasbro decides to go down a cost-cutting measure, I'd be happy to lose these. In fact, if it was manageable, I'd be quite interested in seeing Hasbro lose the FX and the civilian heads and perhaps do Build-A-Figure waves so that we could get more monsters. I know that typically the Build-A-Figures come at the cost of accessories and maybe even paint apps for some of the Marvel Legends characters and things, but yeah, if it meant that we lost that and the FX pieces but kept the other accessories and the paint apps we've been seeing so far, I think I'd be quite happy with that. We have the Black Ranger's bow staff type weapon, which is nicely done. It's nice silver touches. From what I recall, there isn't really much to add to that, so it's pretty screen accurate. We have a new FX piece, which is really nice. This is a sort of swooping effect. I assume it just it's just going to loop onto the top of the staff. But that's a nice effect. It seems Hasbro have really gone out with this Black Ranger, which is nice to see. It's got some nice interesting effects pieces, hand accessories, etc. It's a shame the Blue Ranger 2-pack was so lacking in that department. Same blaster as the Blue Rangers. Again, nice detailing, nice paint apps. And for the Ranger himself, this is a lot better than the Blue Ranger. I mean, if I was one of those types of people to really nitpick, I don't know if it shows up on the camera, but the gold rectangle is slightly misaligned by, you know, fractions of a millimeter, but it doesn't bother me. It's not the sort of thing you'd notice on a shelf. Everything else is perfectly aligned. So no, I don't have any complaints in that department. In fact, this has been really nicely done. Nice tight joints still. Paint apps seem well done throughout. The squares appear to be the same size, although you can see the paint app there is slightly misaligned. Again, it's nowhere near as bad as the Blue Ranger's head sculpt, and on a shelf, unless you're looking at it right up close, there is nothing wrong with that at all. I'm really happy with that. Yeah, I can't make any complaints on that. Really good job. It's a shame that the Blue Ranger couldn't have been the same. Next up is Lost Galaxy Blue. So, as previously, exact same packaging as the other releases. The inside's got the lightning bolt, window style packaging, artwork on the side, moving round to the side, Lost Galaxy logo on the top, product shots on the back, and more artwork on the side. I will say it's interesting from the product shot that he's holding both the sword and the the Quasar Saber in its holster mode and the extended version. Seems a bit of an odd choice, but oh well. It's just a product shot. It's not really have any lasting effect. And here we have the Lost Galaxy Blue Ranger. So first up we have a FX piece, which is due to go around the saber. It's the standard sword piece, FX piece, as we've seen in the past. You know, this one I don't mind so much compared to, say, the one we've got with blue in space. But again, I'm happy to take or leave these. Hands is a closed fist and an open palm, the exact same ones we saw with In Space Blue. So it's a shame that we're back to standard hands rather than something a bit more unique as we had with the In Space Black Ranger. Have the civilian head, which from what I recall is actually a fairly decent likeness. I like the hair texture to it. It's nicely layered and spiky. It almost looks, you know, like hair rather than just a lump of plastic. We then have the Quasar Saber in its holster mode and extended. This again is really nicely detailed, some nice gold paint apps, silver on the blade. Molded into the sword is the, I don't know if it's language or what. We even have a picture of the gorilla, which is nicely done, and is something that Hasbro could have easily skipped on the mold. I know there would have been no end of complaints to it, but given that we're looking at a £22 now figure, you can only expect so much, and to have gone as far as detailing the accessories in such a way is a nice touch. White holster, gold it. And the same for the holstered version, except it's obviously closed up and the blade's done in gold. But I'm really happy with that, it's nice to see. We then have his signature weapon, which is a nice touch, and equally odd at the same time, given that we've had two releases of the Lost Galaxy Red Ranger, neither of which had a signature weapon. Still, it's nice to see. It's been nicely detailed. I can't say it was essential to include it, but it's nice to include it. I know a lot of fans would have wanted it, and if it hadn't been included, there probably would have been a lot of complaints, but equally, as I said, you can only expect so much for a £20 figure. So to see a uniquely moulded piece included is a nice touch. For the figure itself, we'll start the head. Nicely moulded head sculpt, looks accurate to what I recall. Doesn't really show up on the camera, but the gorilla's eyes have been painted gold, which is a nice touch. Coming down, standard body mold for all the other Rangers. Belt with their V symbols, nicely done. Black holster. Yeah, I'm happy with this. There's not really a lot to say in terms of the Rangers. They're all the exact same molds and articulations. So once you've seen one, you've seen them all. One thing I will say, and I do like it, is the fact that they've included the zip in all of the Ranger molds. It's a nice little fun touch, nod to obviously the original Sentai costumes. So far, I would say, looks-wise, the blue one's the most appealing to me, or sorry, the Blue Galaxy one. However, accessory-wise, I think the Black Ranger tops it out. I was really happy with the alternate style hand and a brand new FX piece. Still, we'll move on to the green and the Tenga. And here we have the SPD Green Ranger. There's nothing new to add in terms of the packaging. Exact same artwork on the front, sides with the SPD logo. Product shot. More artwork. I will say I really do like the artwork that Hasbro have added to these figures. Kudos to the artist or artists that do that. And here we have SPT Green out of the packaging. So first up are the alternate hands for the figure. We get a standard chopping hand, and then we get a post hand, which is, again, I really like. I like it when Hasbro do these alternate hands rather than just the standard fists and things. You can see it's posed into stand out. I'm assuming this one's been done so it can hold the Spd Morph. I think this is the same hand we've seen with the other SPD Rangers, but again, it's nice to see. And interestingly, it is, I don't know if it's showing up on the camera, it is a different sculpt to the one which came with the Black Ranger, which is always nice. So kudos to Hasbro for doing that. Comes with his weapon, which again is really nicely painted and detailed. We have the hilt for when it's in a blaster mode, the smaller version for the baton for storage / blaster, and then the longer version of the baton to be held individually. Really nice detailed, as I said. Nice silver paint apps. I'm not sure if it's showing up on the camera, but SPD's even moulded into the hilt of the blaster. So really nicely done by Hasbro. We get a standard blaster FX piece, which we've seen with numerous other Rangers before. Again, you know, I'll take and leave the FX pieces. This is one of the slightly more appealing ones compared to the version which came with SPD Blue. But again, it's nothing to write home about. head sculpt, nice likeness, nice sculpt to the hair. And then finally we have the Spd Morpher, again nicely detailed. This is the same we've seen with the other Spd releases, so there's nothing new to add there. I will say that I fully believe that Hasbro missed a trick by not including some buttery toast with this. But other than that, this is the Ranger itself. Nicely detailed. It doesn't really show up on the camera, but there's moulding above the dog's head for the Spd itself. Helmet's been nicely painted with some nice paint apps. It appears as I believe it should appear. The three is done on the chest. It's a shame the paint doesn't go all the way up, so if you've got him bent back that looks a little odd. But I think again it's down to the number rather than anything Hasbro have done, but the 3 on the chest looks a little odd and missized at the bottom here. But I don't think that's necessarily Hasbro. I think it's just the way the paint or the figure was always going to look, shall I say, against this mould. You know, without losing the ab crunch or something, I don't think this would have or could have been improved in any way. Spd logo up here in the corner. Spd moulded onto the belt. Really nicely done. In fact, I'd say this one is probably the nicest of the Spd figures, bar Kruger, which was done in the first release, first wave, and was obviously a higher quality to subsequent waves, obviously as a proof of concept more than anything else. But yes, I'm happy with this figure. It's a nice addition to the line. It doesn't really show up on the camera, and maybe it's just me, but I think the helmet is a slightly different shade of green to the body, but again it's minor. It's very, very minor, barely noticeable, but yeah, I think there is a slight difference in coloration between the helmet and the body, but it's not something I would immediately complain about or notice if I wasn't staring at the figure like this. And last up we have the Tenga Warrior from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This is going to be the unique mould of the wave. It's nice to see more henchmen being released. The artwork and same style packaging continues throughout. So you can see the Tango Warrior inside, you can see the artwork on the front of the packaging. Moving round to the side, I'd say that doesn't stand out quite as well as the other Rangers because obviously its entire head is on the front of the packaging. Standard product shot on the back. More artwork on the side. We'll get this opened up and have a look. And one thing I'm going to note before we do that is the 3 little indentation marks above the packaging, which is a odd touch. I'm not quite sure what that was done for, but it's obviously been molded into the packaging for some reason. So taking this out of the packaging, the very first thing to note is that the wings are sealed to the inlay of the packaging, which is not something I've seen before with the Ranger releases, but given the size of this figure, it's unsurprising. Otherwise, that's how it's been packaged. And here we have the Tengo Warrior. First up, it comes with a white lightning effects piece. These usually fold around the wrists. Oh, it's not just white, it's not coming up on the camera, but it's more of a pearlescent colour. You can see some slight purpling running through it. On the camera here it's showing as pure white, but it's not. It's actually a pearlescent colour with purple running through it. That is a really gorgeous and nice touch from Hasbro's part. One of the nicer FX pieces we've seen. You get the Tenga Warrior Egg, which has been nicely detailed. Cracks running through it, all touched up with purple. You get all the wing pieces which need attaching to the figure. They look like they're just going to slot in, but we'll see in a second. And you even get 2 alternate hands. Both are closed fists, but even so, it's nice to see. And then the figure itself. We'll take another look at this once I've done the wings, but this is the figure itself. The paint apps on this are gorgeous. The camera doesn't do this justice to it. It's got a metallic shimmering green wash of paint in certain places. The back's unpainted, but I'm not going to complain about that. It's got some nice scuff marks on the armour throughout. Beak has got gold and purple paint app to it. Eyes have been done. This is an amazing figure, and it's really weighted and hefty as well. Okay, I'm going to attach the wings and we'll take a final look at this figure. And here we have the Tango Warrior with its wings attached. Really easy to slide in. Each of the wings have a left and a right, and there are molds inside the arm so that they will only fit into one arm, which is nicely done. What I think is a really excellent touch is that you actually get different sized wing pieces. So you can have the sort of folded out, ready for flight wings, or the more folded in wings. Honestly, the details on this are amazing. I can't speak highly enough of this figure. Its beak opens and closes. It's fully articulated, same level of articulation as the other Rangers. You have all of the wing detailing. Honestly, this was the figure from the wave I was quite happy to sit out on. I'm more interested in the Rangers. However, I'm so glad I got this figure. And overall, this makes the wave of figures a really interesting one. Normally, when you have a figure like this in the wave, whether it be Power Rangers or Marvel or whatever, the cost for this figure is taken from the other standard figures. Now, with all of these figures, while the Rangers are obviously the standard, same molds we've seen with every other one, they have nothing new. The fact that blue and black are coming with their signature weapons, that they get, you know, alternate hands, new FX pieces. Hasbro seems to have gone really out of their way with this wave. They don't seem to have cut corners on anything, which is interesting, as you would have thought that something would have had to have been sacrificed in order to do a whole new mold with such a high level of detail and articulation to it. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to add, except if you only pick up one figure from this wave, go with the Tengo Warrior. It's amazing, and I don't think we're going to see anything of that level anytime soon. While it's not included in this wave, there's obviously the 2-pack, which I found to be highly disappointing. The Blue Ranger's helmet is off-coloured. We've gotten all of the other Psycho Rangers already, so that's nothing new. Much like the pink one I reviewed recently, it's, you know, there's little bits that could have been added, like an FX piece for silver or a new FX piece. You know, and the fact that Blue Ranger's getting released again within, you know, weeks of this being released is a really odd choice on Hasbro's part. So if you're interested in getting the Blue and Space Ranger, perhaps actually pick up the cycle rather than the 2-pack. But otherwise, yeah, I'm really happy with these figures, and they're going to make excellent additions to my display pieces. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.